Hello everyone and welcome back to IMO Reviews, and today we are discussing Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2 pretty much does pick up exactly where the last one left off, with Riley now being 13 years of age and experiencing plenty of new, confusing emotions. And they all seem to be hitting her at the wrong time as a very important hockey camp approaches. I really like the first Inside Out. I don't think it's a perfect movie. It's sort of like a high 8, low 9 out of 10 in my book personally. There is a bit of a lull in the middle, but I really appreciate the overall message and the idea behind it. I think it's quite clever, and I really think it smoothly lands that plane in what it was trying to achieve. And I knew there would be sequels to it because it was very popular, very successful, made loads of money. Of course they're going to ride that train until it falls off. But I always felt that Inside Out was one of those movies that just never needed a sequel. It achieves everything it was setting out to do in that one movie. To do a sequel, you can only really retread the same thing. And unfortunately, Inside Out 2 does exactly that. We really are just kind of repeating ourselves here. It is quite an unnecessary film. Once again, the overall message is our girl's growing up. She's just older now. It does feel like it's got a little bit of sequelitis, unfortunately. It really doesn't justify its own existence. And in typical sequel fashion, we even kind of go down the road of doing the old-fashioned road trip adventure. I mean, it isn't entirely set up in that regard, but when you look back at it, yeah, it's kind of a road trip where we're travelling through the mind yet again like we did in the first one. All of my worst fears for this movie were very quickly proving to come true. But despite my many complaints and my harsh criticisms on this kids' movie, there are plenty of positives about it too, which actually very pleasantly surprised me. It's still animated fantastically well. It's vivid, it's bright, it's colourful, it's imaginative. I still think they managed to have some fun with the environment and the setting that they're in, and I do think there were some genuinely good and clever gags throughout the film as well. Nothing that made me belly laugh, but definitely got a smirk out of me. One at the very end as well, which might actually be the best gag in the film. I really like the cast here. I thought Maya Hawke did a great job as Anxiety. She brought a really good energy to the role. And my biggest praise for the film is that my favourite part of the film is the ending. And I don't mean that as a negative thing in the sense, hooray, it's finally over. I mean, no, I really think they managed to land that plane quite smoothly once again. It was a bumpy road getting there, but once we started to hit on some heart and emotion and something of sentiment, I really liked it. But I can't help but acknowledge that this is a bit of a mess, unfortunately. There are a lot of down moments, there are a lot of repeated steps, things we've already seen before, and the overarching message being pretty much the same as the first one. And even some parts of the storytelling just don't seem to make entire sense, and they feel a lot messier than in the first one. I'm going to tiptoe very carefully here, but for example, Joy isn't in the room and Anxiety is at the table, and yet Riley is experiencing joy in real life despite Joy not being present at the desk. I didn't think it worked like that. Unless someone can explain it to me in the comment section, I was left scratching my head as to how Riley was feeling different emotions to what was actually playing out on the desk. I am just a little bit confused as to how Anxiety was written as a character, because there are many times in the film where Anxiety actually comes across almost as bravado or ego. Anxiety as a character is almost too self-assured and confident, and that to me isn't what Anxiety is. And it only proved further contrasting when you looked at characters like Embarrassment, who I thought was a great addition and played his role perfectly. He was constantly cringing and embarrassed by his own actions no matter what he did. And yet Anxiety wasn't constantly anxious and constantly second-guessing herself. Instead, she came across very self-assured, controlled, knew exactly what she was going to do, and I don't think that's what Anxiety is personally. I mean, everyone experiences it differently, of course, but I personally think Anxiety is the sort of crippling thing that stops you from doing it, not that makes you do it. I don't know, each to their own, I suppose. So overall, I do think it's quite problematic and quite clunky in places, but I did like it overall, and I wouldn't be against watching it again. If you've got young children, I think they'll have an absolutely great time with this, and it won't be unbearable for you parents. So I'm going to give Inside Out 2 a 6 out of 10. Thank you for watching this review. Please be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and please do hit the comment section as well. Have you seen Inside Out 2? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you haven't had enough of this crazy ginger, we can always click on these suggested videos right here and get yourself lost in an IMO wormhole. But if not, take care, and I look forward to seeing you on the next review.